Taehyung breaks down in tears on camera, and just hours later, Jungkook's secret letter is exposed. What is really happening inside BTS? The world is watching. Again, BTS, the group once known for unshakable unity, has just entered its most emotionally charged chapter yet. And this time, the story isn't told through award shows or packed stadiums, but through tears, a handwritten letter, and a silence that screams louder than any encore ever could. Kim Taehyung, known globally as V, has always been a master of masking his deepest emotions behind a stoic gaze and that signature boxy smile. But this week, everything changed. The camera didn't lie. The world watched in real time as V, fresh from his military discharge, sat before a live stream and cried. Not with showbiz flair, not with dramatic music, just quiet, trembling tears and a stare so full of meaning that it shattered the hearts of millions across the globe. Why now? Why Taehyung? And most hauntingly, why alone? The live stream, intended to reconnect with fans, began normally. Taehyung greeted the camera, wore his usual understated fashion, and played soft music in the background. But something felt off from the first second. His tone was too quiet, his pauses too long. He reached for a water bottle, hesitated, then set it down again. ARMY knew. They always know. Then came the moment. No dramatic buildup. Just the quiet breaking of a dam. His voice cracked mid-sentence. His shoulders tightened. And then, slowly, uncontrollably, tears, he tried to smile through them. Tried to act as though nothing had happened. But the pain was clear, visible, raw, and what he said next only added fuel to the fire. It's been a strange homecoming. Not everything feels familiar. One sentence. That's all it took. Enough to rip the lid off every dormant theory, every hushed fear ARMY had been suppressing since BTS announced their temporary hiatus in 2022. The idea that something might not be right, that the brotherhood was not as intact as we wanted to believe. And then, just hours after Taehyung's tears made global headlines, another bombshell, the letter, not posted, not announced, leaked from none other than Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, always seen as the golden boy, had apparently written a private letter months ago during his military enlistment, meant to be opened only after his return. But now, somehow, it had surfaced, and its content was nothing short of heart-shattering, though parts of it remain unconfirmed. Translations circulating among fan communities reveal a tone of confession, of weariness, of disappointment. Sometimes I wonder if what we had will still be there when we all return, or if we already said goodbye, just without using the word. The words hit like a lightning strike. For a fandom built on trust, loyalty, and shared dreams, this wasn't just a letter. It was an emotional grenade. It wasn't addressed to a specific member. It wasn't dated. But every word dripped with the weight of years lived on camera, of unspoken exhaustion, of love turned to silence. And paired with Taehyung's emotional breakdown, the message felt coordinated, even if unintentionally so. What happened between these two monumental moments? What pushed V to tears and forced Jungkook's hidden thoughts into the spotlight? Could it be that the time apart, intended to strengthen their bond, has done the opposite? There's no denying that BTS's post-military future has been the topic of anxious speculation since 2023. Fans were promised a reunion in 2026, a full group comeback that would mark a new era. But now, that dream is beginning to feel like a mirage. First, it was the silence. No public messages from the members welcoming V back from the military. No live stream from Jungkook. No group posts, no teasing updates, no behind-the-scenes clips. The return of a member once considered the emotional heartbeat of BTS was met with nothing. Then came the subtle distancing. Taehyung's Instagram returned not with fan service or brotherly content, but with high-fashion photos, luxury branding, and cryptic captions. Some fans called it artistic expression. Others saw a warning. And now, with tears from Taehyung and a letter from Jungkook, speculation has become full-blown alarm. Is BTS still together in heart, or only in name? The emotional toll isn't just affecting the members. ARMY itself is fracturing. Online forums are flooded with heartbreak, betrayal, denial. Some cling to hope. They're just being private, while others accept what they see as the truth, that the family we believed in may never return as it was. I watched Taehyung cry, and I cried with him. One fan wrote on Twitter, "Not because I'm sad he's emotional, but because I know that kind of cry. It's the cry of someone who feels abandoned." And what of Jungkook? What pushed him to write such a letter? For years, he was the one who smiled the most, who cried on stage during fan meetings out of gratitude, who ran to hug his hyungs at every award show. If he is now questioning whether BTS can ever be the same, what does that mean for the rest of them? Even now, hours after the storm began, there's been no comment from HYB. No statements. No clarifications. And perhaps that silence speaks louder than anything, because sometimes it's not just what idols say, it's what they don't say, what they can't say. And when one member cries on camera while another's buried words rise to the surface, we are forced to ask ourselves, have we been romanticizing a bond that ended long ago? What happens to a group whose identity was built on brotherhood, when that brotherhood quietly dissolves? What happens when the strongest, most unbreakable force in K-pop history begins to unravel, not through scandal or betrayal, but through unspoken grief? And most haunting of all, what happens to ARMY when their 7 stars no longer orbit around the same sun? The answers, for now, remain buried in silence, but the tears have already fallen. The words have already been written, and the world will never look at BTS the same way again. The weight of one tear can shift a nation's heart. The weight of 7 hearts growing silent can collapse an entire generation's belief in something sacred. Since that unforgettable live stream, the image of Taehyung, alone, eyes red, barely holding back sobs, has circulated faster than any chart-topping single. Screenshots are everywhere. His hand covering his face, the slight quiver in his lips. The moment his voice broke as he uttered, "I hope you didn't forget me." Words that would seem simple, if not soaked in fear. A fear not of fans leaving, but of something, someone, having already left him. And Jungkook's letter? That single leak, whether by accident or divine timing, hit like an emotional time bomb. Fans are now reading every line as if decoding a prophecy. The tone, the spacing, even the handwriting. Every curve of the ink. Armies are translating, retranslating, debating context, wondering aloud. Was this letter meant for Taehyung? Was it a response to something deeper? Is Jungkook hurting, too? But behind a wall we haven't yet seen crack. What was once a fandom of unity now feels like a courtroom of heartbreak. Twitter Spaces open hourly, titled things like, "Is BTS really okay?" or "Was the letter a goodbye?" TikTok videos of V crying are synced to soft piano versions of Spring Day, turning into tribute reels for a brotherhood people now fear is lost. On Reddit, a top-voted theory reads like a crime investigation. April 2025. Jungkook stops all personal posts on weverse. May 2025. Jin returns to public life, but avoids any mention of upcoming BTS reunion. June 10th, 2025. Taehyung is discharged from military. No member greets him publicly. June 20th, 2025. Taehyung cries on live stream. June 21st, 2025. Jungkook's hidden letter is leaked. June 22nd, 2025. Still no official statement from any BTS member or HYB. The silence isn't just emotional anymore. It feels institutional, and in the middle of it all stands Taehyung, still posting fashion editorials, still working with Celine, still smiling through pain only he knows the depth of. A man once defined by his group identity is now the symbol of quiet grief. Some fans call him the prince left behind. Others say he's not the one abandoned, but the one walking away. Who's right? Who's gone? Who's staying? More disturbingly, what if they're all slowly drifting in opposite directions, just too gentle to say it aloud? One former big hit stylist, speaking anonymously on a Korean podcast, hinted something subtle last year. The image is always together, but the souls have been walking separately for a while now. You'd be surprised how rarely they saw each other in recent years. At the time, it was dismissed. Now it resurfaces like a warning no one took seriously. IT isn't just fans asking questions. Korean media outlets are beginning to investigate too, and while most maintain respectful distance, a few courageous headlines have appeared. The group that promised forever, but forgot to say hello. Tears, letters, and silence. Is this the end of BTS as we know it? These emotional collapse sparks questions about group dynamics, and with each passing day of member silence, the world begins to believe this might not be a misunderstanding. It might be a reckoning, but how did it get to this point? To answer that, we have to rewind back to 2022, when BTS first announced their group pause. Framed as a temporary break for solo growth, it was carefully worded, wrapped in reassurances. We will come back stronger. This isn't disbandment, but now, those phrases feel less like promises and more like prescripted comfort for a decision that had already been made behind closed doors. At the time, fans noticed cracks. During the dinner announcement, Taehyung had looked the most withdrawn. Suga's tone was resigned. Jimin, always the emotional core, looked like he was suppressing something. And Jungkook, the youngest, stayed quiet longer than usual, but ARMY, ever hopeful, trusted the vision, trusted the group. What if that trust was misplaced? As solo careers launched, something else began to surface: distance. No more casual interactions between members. No late-night weverse lives together. No surprise appearances on each other's broadcasts. The OT7 label slowly faded from official captions. Members posted individually, promoted separately, and eventually, even acknowledged birthdays without the trademark group chaos. Some chalked it up to growth. But now, in light of recent events, it feels like a long goodbye we didn't know we were witnessing. What makes this even harder to accept is that fans weren't just bystanders. They gave everything: money, time, language, years of youth to this group. To believe that what they believed in might be dissolving in front of them, silently, is almost unbearable. One fan from Brazil wrote in a viral Instagram post, "We didn't ask them to be perfect. We just asked them to be honest." And right now, the silence feels like a lie. Another ARMY from the Philippines posted, "If they've grown apart, I can accept that. What hurts is pretending it's still the same." The emotional toll is global. Live streams of fans crying while rewatching old clips are circulating everywhere. Some edit compilations of OT7 moments with funeral music. Others send messages of strength to Taehyung, hoping he knows he's not alone, even if his brothers didn't show up. But the biggest question remains unanswered. What will happen next? Is there a chance, however small, that this is a wake-up call? That the members will speak up, reunite, and finally bring clarity? Or is this the start of the unraveling? The point of no return? Taehyung's next moves are now watched with anxious eyes. Will he address the tears? Will Jungkook confirm the letter? Will the rest say something, anything, to break this unbearable silence? Until they do, we're left with broken hearts, unanswered questions, and the haunting image of a boy named Taehyung who came home and found nobody waiting.